I was pleased to be able to speak at the last Black Parliament 2017, which commemorated 40 years of the land rights movement and acknowledged the champions of this important cause who fought hard for reform. The issue of land rights for Aboriginal peoples stretches back many decades, but I would like to acknowledge, like Leanne, people like the late Sol Blair AM, Kevin Cook, Joyce Clay, Kevin Gilbert, Alan Woods, Alice Briggs, Camilla Potter, Linda Trudy Longbottom, Betty Ty, Ray Kelly, Jack Campbell and Ted Thomas, who met for that meeting at the Black Theatre and formalised, not got started, but formalised the work that had been done previous to that to get the land rights movement formally recognised. But today we're here to celebrate, commemorate that 40 years ago New South Wales passed the Aboriginal Land Rights Act in this very chamber. Frank Walker was the minister, and Frank Walker went on to be a federal member on the Central Coast, which is the area that I'm from, so I did know Frank quite well. The Aboriginal Land Rights Act is a unique piece of legislation. The ball got rolling right back in 1980 when the first report of the Select Committee of the New South Wales Parliament on Aborigines, now known as the Keane Report, was released in August 1980. The committee emphasised the granting of land rights was of paramount importance to Aboriginal people in New South Wales and should be regarded as an act of elementary justice to recompense for past actions detrimental to Aboriginal people. It focused on the return of land Aboriginal people and communities as compensation for the dispossession of land. It noted the return of land to local Aboriginal land councils is critical for Aboriginal people and communities, but also delivers outcomes to the broader non-Aboriginal community. And in the spirit of truth-telling, I think it should be acknowledged that even though it was a landmark act and is still an act that we can be proud of, it certainly did not go to the extent that Aboriginal people wanted at the time, and I acknowledge that. But what it does do, it enables Aboriginal self-determination over land, water and natural resources. That's what the original intent was. We probably got the land part right. The other two areas we still need to work on. The Aboriginal Land Rights Act has allowed land rights work to be independent and self-sustaining for the past 40 years. And I acknowledge in discussions with the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council, that's not always an easy job. And I know that it is sometimes very difficult. But I'm pleased and proud that New South Wales Aboriginal Land Rights Act is much stronger than other jurisdictions. In fact, it's the strongest in the country. When we talk about things like closing the gap, I have a very strong belief that along with education and health, economic self-determination is one of the biggest drivers to close the gap. When Aboriginal people have control over their economy, then they're more likely to have better outcomes. And I think that has always underpinned the Act. There have been some incredible outcomes produced by the Act, including the development of the Muruk Cultural Centre owned by Warramai Local Aboriginal Land Council. And I know BJ's here. Pete Island transferred to Darkinjung, which has just happened recently. And of course, Darkinjung represents the land of my electorate. The Kamay Ranger program operated by La Perouse Local Aboriginal Land Council, and the Liverpool Aboriginal Medical Service, owned and operated by Gangandara Local Aboriginal Land Council. Although there have been some good outcomes, there is absolutely still work to be done. And you'll be very pleased, Liam, we're working on the next range of amendments on the Aboriginal Land Rights Act, and hopefully you'll see some of those soon, and I'm pretty sure we'll get bipartisan support. So I think that's very important. I've always, even in opposition as the Shadow Minister, pushed the premise that Aboriginal affairs should be bipartisan. It should be the business of everyone in this place, and it shouldn't be a political football. And I think that the ministers I've worked with, Leslie, Don and Ben, I think they always worked in that spirit. And I hope that they thought that my contribution was in that spirit as well. The promise of 40 years ago is yet to be fully realised, as many claims are still locked in the system. The fact that there are around 38,000 claims still unresolved is nothing that any of us can be proud of or celebrate. So the issue is complex. There are no easy solutions, but we hope to build on the policies of the former government to find ways to negotiate how we can unlock that land more quickly. By working in partnership with Aboriginal land councils and the New South Wales government has an opportunity to continue this groundbreaking work. And that's what I'm committed to as Minister for Aboriginal Affairs and what this government is committed to. These partnerships can deliver on that promise of land rights and realise those economic outcomes. The promise of cultural, economic and social benefits for Aboriginal people and communities right across New South Wales. And I think particularly we have an opportunity at the moment to deliver housing. We all know we have a huge housing shortage, and I think we need a very strong partnership with Aboriginal land councils to use land to deliver housing that benefits the whole community. Every parliament that has sat since that one 40 years ago has a strong legacy to build on, and the current government and the current parliament, I'm sure, will work to do that. We have big plans and a big agenda to close the gap for Aboriginal people. We will consult with Aboriginal people and community starting later this year into next year on treaty and agreement making. And that was a commitment I made when I spoke here in 2017. And I'm very pleased that after the election we'll be able to start to deliver on that commitment. I would like to think that in 40 years' time, people will look back on this time in Parliament and marvel at what has been achieved, and I want to be part of that legacy. Although with this government, we won't be waiting 40 years. We'll be starting now and have at least 4 years to make a huge difference. And I've set myself and the Premier and our government, Labor government, a very ambitious agenda across a range of areas that we want to deliver before the next election. But I strongly believe that by listening to Aboriginal people and communities and by ensuring they have a voice in decisions that affect them, we can make great change and real difference, not just to Aboriginal communities, but to our whole community. And in finishing, I'd like to give a message to you all. Currently, with the referendum that's underway, it's brought out the best in some people and the worst in others. And what I would say to you and convey to you all is, whatever your view is on the referendum, look after each other, support each other, because there's some pretty nasty stuff happening out there. And it's very unfortunate. So stick together and care about each other. And whatever the outcome is, we will continue to move forward. It won't change our view on negotiating a pathway to treaty and agreement making. We will still do that anyway, because it's the right thing to do. But look after yourselves, because you've been through a long, long struggle. And the young people in this room, and it's great to see so many young faces, you're picking up the baton and you're running in the future. So be empowered from what the elders have done. Be empowered to know that it's the right path. And be empowered to know that though sometimes you'll hit hurdles, and it's pretty hard, and there's some people in this room who've lived through terrible, terrible experiences, but it's made them stronger, and it's made you stronger as a people. So congratulations, and we can celebrate 40 years of this Act, but it's a challenge to us moving forward to do better. And that's the message from today.